Okay, so we're live on Facebook and YouTube. I met this beautiful, beloved sister online 2, 3 months ago. Carlotta J, also known as Cosmic Child, and very powerful energy. She lives in Kauai, where Morgan and I were for 10 months, and we never ran into her there, her and her partner. But we're going to get to know her now in front of everybody. So I'm just going to play the intro real quick and allow people time to come in. If these shows resonate with you, please share. We are getting suppressed. We got a strike today from Facebook on our comment that we put up after each show. So the pressure's getting more and more severe, but that's okay. We're here to transform, and we're moving closer and closer to broadcasting and originating all these programs from our own site. And that's coming very, very soon, very, very soon. Yeah, all the love and support that you've given us and contributions, thank you so much for that. And it's going to come to fruition soon. So, anyway, we'll talk more about that later. Right now, let's get on with the show. How's it going, everybody? It's our last show of the day, third show of the day. We got a big surprise. I'm real excited about this. I'm going to get to know someone that I met online 3 or 4 months ago that reached out to us and her benevolence and really strong, powerful energy from the island of Kauai. So, yeah, let's see if we can get to know her a little bit better and have a little fellowship. There you go. You're muted. There you go. How's it going?
Good, good. Aloha.
Aloha to you. It's nice to feel the vibrancy of Kauai. You're in Kauai, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm very blessed to have been called here, and man, what a what a roller coaster, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but I've learned to follow the guidance
Yeah.
for sure.
So how long have you been there? You've been there a while?
This is our fifth. This is my fifth year, going into the sixth. So I still consider myself a baby when it
Yeah.
comes to the acclimation. Uh, because there's so much to receive here. There's so much to be revealed of oneself here.
That's absolutely the truth. And I can speak from less experience than you, but we were there 10 months. She was gone for 57 days during that time. She had to go back because of the visa. But all I can say is in those 10 months, that was, that was just an ongoing, everyday initiation, indoctrination, assimilation, whatever you want to call it. But there was a lot of different energies involved, and it's a powerful, powerful place. I don't think a lot of people know the. It's even Kauai is even cited in the Tibetan sacred text. They're on the what would be the northeast side of the island where all souls are birthed. They recognize it as all souls being birthed. Not to mention the dragon energy, the mother energy. Uh, what are those night walkers? I mean, we had what do they call them? The Greys. the short grays, other off universe nature beings. I mean, there was so many different things went down there. And I guess in preparation, because we do the same thing. We follow the guidance, and the guidance told us you got to leave now.
Mm.
You got you got to go to the mainland. So now, and I know you're in a partnership. And how long has that been going on? Is that did y'all meet in Kauai?
Yeah, I interestingly we met in Kauai, and he and I were both guided to come here, and yeah, we met here probably within a month of arriving, and you know, I came here with the intention to not wear any hats, to come in and fully uh, receive and be guided by wherever, and to learn the communities, to understand what was needed or what was in my bag of expertise that might be of service. And the one thing that, of course, I set aside as a stipulation for myself was to not be in union, to be just allowing myself this journey of not necessarily a companionship. And I think that was simply because I had kind of recognized my loop, and thought, okay, I'm good. I'm really blessed and have had some really, um, I've had all kinds of relationships. So I thought, I'm good. I
Yeah,
could live actually the rest of my life very happy and content for what I have experienced, and was not on my radar,
yeah.
literally was so far from my radar. And so when he approached me, I was like, la 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 la, not having it, right?
That's like the Dumb and Dumber movie when they're driving down the road.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And he actually was, he's, and this is part of my loop, my pattern. He's 17 years younger than me.
Hmm.
And that's a big one to swallow. I've typically dated younger guys, simply because of just the energy, the vitality.
Hmm.
I'm I'm very active and very going, and just I'm a lot to deal with
Hmm.
energetically. I think I resonate a lot with Morgan in that sense that at 50, you're like, I've seen it. I'm over it, and I'm not playing ball. I'm not gonna, you know
Right.
what I mean? I just don't have I don't have it in me to do do on this 3D realm anymore,
Yeah.
relationship wise. But, and I just assumed, I learned through this process that it was my story, that, the younger guys, they just, bless them, they're where they need to be, but it's probably not the best partnership for myself. And
And then you met an old soul.
then I met this old soul, but I was still in my story, and I'm just like, actually, when I met him, um, I just did. It wasn't even an option for me.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't even occur to me because he was so young, and he's actually, and this was a huge one for me to swallow. And again, it just wasn't on my radar. He's 4 years older than my son. So just literally, when he approached me about it, I literally was very flattered. And I just said, sweetie, you're in Kauai. There are 1,000 bikinis running around your age. Go chase one.
Right.
Like, just like, why, really, me? No, there's, go have fun, really,
Hmm.
go have fun. And he actually pursued me for over a year, very gently
Wow.
and very consistently. He actually got a job where I was working.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And then he stayed there for a short time, and he basically approached me on the day that he was transitioning away to a different job, to actually work for himself. And he came up to me and he goes, I mean it. this is the last time I'm going to ask. Like, I mean it. Like, and I had no understanding of his deep compelling. I could feel it, but I was just like, wow, this guy's really determined. And it happened to be, I think that night or another, very shortly after that, it was a downpour. And you know how it gets in Kauai.
Yeah.
When it pours, it pours. And I have this Jeep, and it was a night shift. And we were both closing different departments. And I went out to my Jeep, and I see him um, unlocking a bicycle. And it is deep dark and pouring down rain. You can't see 4 feet in front of you. And I'm like, no, like, no, this. And so I said, honey, I said, where do you live? And he's like, oh, I just live up so and so. And I literally lived 2 blocks away from that.
Oh my God.
And so I'm like, okay, get the
There's the third energy at
right,
play.
right. And so I said, put the bike in the Jeep, and let's go, you know. And so I dropped him off, and he's like, well, would you like to just chat? And I'm like, nope, nope, And it took quite some time after that, but um, yeah, we actually were connected again. He approached me about assisting with a retreat that Lisa T. Brown was hosting.
Mm-hmm.
So he was connected with her and had assisted her. And that's really what launched the inevitable union,
Mm.
was that whole scenario. Because by the end of that retreat, and it was with this whole community of, I think, Chinese. Half of them didn't even speak English. We needed an interpreter. But unbeknownst to me, they all assumed that we were a union.
Yeah.
Like, they all thought that we were a union. And it wasn't until the last end of that I really understood the love and the nature
Yeah.
of of it. And that's what really launched the indisputable. So, and wow, talk about, you speak about your and Morgan's kind of gauntlet crash course.
Mm-hmm.
Whew. On top
Yeah.
of here in Kauai, where there is no, everything is on the surface.
It's in
Everything
your
is
face, man.
in your face, instant karma, instant,
Mm-hmm.
and so, yeah, I was not prepared for the humble pie and the dynamics that were going to
Yeah.
be unfolded. But I honestly can't say I obviously, it's at 50, you just don't expect this to happen.
Yeah.
And then it happened, and you're just like, holy moly, you're revealing of yourself through this, mirroring and this beautiful partnership. And it has been 3 years now. We've been together, and whew,
It's a
yeah,
ride, isn't it? Everybody thinks it's all fluffy love and light all the time, and it really is from a higher perspective. But the human, shedding the skins of the human is it is humble pie. And
yeah.
speaking of humble pie, there seems to be a lot of that going around right now, which is a good thing.
I think it's par for the course of us understanding our own divinity
Yeah. Yeah.
and allowing ourselves the human aspect, and being able to engage and see ourselves in this human dimension, and being able to integrate all those that the relationships will show us, regardless of what type of relationship. But
Yeah.
that humble pie is being served up huge in 2020, because I feel what's coming is the ultimate mirror, where we walk through it now,
Yeah.
and we become all the things that we've been shown, and it's time to integrate. And that's why I think things are speeding up so fast,
Yeah.
is because we are approaching this precipice where the our employing impeccable integrity is a fundamental aspect of what will fuel us forward.
That's key.
Yeah,
It
we
really
can't.
is key.
Yeah,
We
right
were
on
we
it.
were talking about that last night, and Morgan and I was just telling her, regardless of what presents itself, no matter how small or minute it might be, I have to. There's a part of me that has to, and I'm not saying I'm perfect by any means. I'm just saying it's a higher state of awareness, a revelation that I've gotten to through very small exchanges, or very what would seem like very casual, normal exchanges. But the importance of the integrity thing is like, I don't know if we can, for me, I feel like if I can stay on top of it and deal with things as they come to the best of my ability, because we're still learning. We might have an exchange, you and and I might not even know that, what was the reason for my imbalance, or whatever. But if I reflect on it a little bit, I might come back to you in a week and say, hey, I need to tell you this. And I guess what I'm saying is, if I feel like that, if I can stay in my integrity, uh, no matter how big or small something might be, then there's no loops, no new loops that are going to be created. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And big or small, it's revealed. So ego likes to say big or small,
Yeah.
significant or insignificant. But if it's in the field and it's being revealed, it's a gift.
Yeah. Which is another thing that's happening in 2020. I think it's always been there, obviously, but it's like everything in every moment, you know, as the twin flame is, my twin flame is the universe. In what I mean, in a certain regard, like everything is a mirror, and everything is telling me something. I mean, if I think about the story you just told, the whole evolution of resistance that you had, and then he's leaving on the last night, and he says, I won't bug you again. And then you walk outside and it's pouring rain, the rinsing, the cleansing, and even like with the bike in the Jeep, and carrying the load together. And, I mean, everything is speaking to us, and it's becoming more clear, I think.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we obviously this year has brought us some paramount perspectives and collective dynamics to really take a look at. And so not is it only just the masculine feminine balancing inward that we each have to do, um, but it's that there's so much going on the collective level. So to me, it's like the onion's been sliced right in half. You can see
Right.
every layer,
Yeah.
and we cannot disregard anything. And we have to feel the emotions. We have to go through everything first person, because it's part of whatever we chose as our evolutionary and expansion path. But it all brings us back to the unity
Yeah.
and allowing ourselves to own our divine and integrate that in a way that we can honor ourselves and one another in such a way that it does create symbiosis and harmony,
Yeah.
and taking one's self as yourself.
Yeah.
Huge,
Yeah.
huge.
That's big. That's big. I just want to say that I just looked at the date. So it's 8/12 or 12/8, depending on where you're at. That's a 20. So it's 2020 in this moment. The third show of the day. And we have a resonance, and I know you picked up on it. I think the four of us really, and I haven't met your partner, but I agree with what you're saying. Beyond the masculine feminine thing, there's this collective energetic field, or collective uh, you know uh, experience that we're all observing, and yet we're still, of course, in our own Merkaba, in our own human Merkaba, and we're having this other experience that's very personal, and that onion is split in half. And so now we have these issues out there, or issues, or aspects, or whatever you want to call it. I can call some of it savior based programming, fear based programming. Some are just what they are. But there's some type of correlation, and we know this, between what's going on within ourselves and what's going on out there. And unity is unity. So how do you assist the collective and yourself in the alignment of this separation that is exacerbated by these polarizing issues that has even crept into the light worker community these last couple of months, these gifts of the last couple of months, where it's been, hey, if you don't agree with this, get off my page now. And I'm looking at people that are very, very much out there, which I totally respect because it takes a lot of guts. Uh, but taking that type of stance and not seeing it, the polarization of it or the projection of it, the first thing I do is look at myself and go, oh my God, what am I missing? Where am I being throwing an absolute down to my brothers and sisters and saying, you're lesser than me because I'm on this side? There is no sides.
No.
And everything goes out the window, and every day there's a higher truth. And even if we find nirvana today, tomorrow we're going to wake up and nirvana is on the new map, step one out of 100. So it's a very good time to stay open, in my opinion.
Yeah, my practice has been evolving rapidly as these all unfoldments arrive. And I think that what astounds me the most and what actually ignites me the most is the immense wave of light workers being revealed
Yeah.
at this time. And I
Yeah.
have to thank you. I have to, give you props in like none other. You are a remarkable lighthouse and have walked the walk and created something that allows others to um, follow suit and feel like there is a place for us
Yeah.
and to come out of the woodwork, because I was one of those who was in the background because of my, again, our lineage as far as our birth rights into this story and what we chose. I had a gnarly upbringing. I had gnarly stuff happen. Life is gnarly, but to always stay connected with your heart and understand that this is what will and always has been our saving grace. And that if we can love ourselves enough to create healthy boundaries and to change the story, because I got to listen. I was blessed enough to listen to a couple of the segments, portions, not the full portions of today, but some really beautiful wisdom being shared, and I was just shaking my head the whole way. And that we are here to evolve humanity and to bring in and nurture and nourish that which has been shifted into the illusion of separateness.
Yeah.
And we do it through the quantum field, and we do it through being that change. And I was allowed the blessing of being guided by spirit at a very young age to how to go out of body and come home,
Wow.
through being, when I was about the age of 3 to 4. So I have always had the path to be out of body. I always had the gift of knowing how to go out, how to come in, which created a way, another and completely different realm and access to things because it was so young.
Yeah.
And so I've been able to see the world differently and have this perspective of we are all one. And I've known that since I was 3 years old, since I was literally was able to rationalize or even conceive of what that is. And that has been my anchor. My sister, my only sibling, was very much troubled because of the dynamics of our household.
Yeah.
And I was compelled to understand, well, wait a minute, we're both going through this, we're both in this atmosphere. Why are you so affected in such a different way than me?
Yeah.
And it began this journey of me understanding the human condition
Yeah.
and what it was to be in this melding pot of savagery, if you want to call it,
Yeah.
because it's like, how do we feel safe when we're told we can't be what we are,
Yeah.
and we have to do all this other. But the the ability to stay neutral and heart centered and actually give yourself permission to love regardless of what is coming your way
Yeah.
is my only saving grace. And that's what started my entire career path. Once I looked back, I was like, you know what? I realized I was always trying to make sense of the the psyche, because that's where we our species has over evolved in the mental
Yeah.
capacity and has lost that coherence between the heart and the mind. And I knew that from the beginning. um, and so yeah, it was more or less me trying to reconcile that, because it just it was in my face every day.
Yeah.
We had massive abuse, massive things going on. And so how do you get through that? I don't know why I was gifted that relationship with spirit. But now when I look back, I realize that I was visited by an entity when I was about 3 or 4, right before my personal abuse started to happen. And I realized years later that it was literally my higher self in the form of an angel that looked
Yeah.
exactly like me or my sister, because we're very close in age. And at the time, I thought it was her. I thought she had gotten up in the middle of the night and found this beautiful dress and was playing in our bedroom. And I was like, go back to bed. What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I realized, and I had this like sense of not understanding what was going on. But and then my actual sister was on the bottom bunk and she coughed and rolled over. And I was like, wait, what? And I kind of looked underneath and saw her turning over. And I looked back and the entity was holding out its hand and it looked just like her or me, because we're, again, very similar.
Yeah.
And I realized that was my higher self enjoying one more moment of the pureness of the soul embodiment before it went on this epic journey of what we now call the human condition.
Wow.
And you know, I wish I could give that to everyone. I wish I could give that centering and anchoring into everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Um,
amazing. That reminds me of a lot of things growing up. Um, I didn't, to my knowledge, certainly, uh, I don't know what happened. Typical family, a lot of kids where I come from. But I had an older brother. I was the second. We shared a room. We had a bunk bed, and our makeup was pretty much the opposite in terms of how we responded to or reacted to the environment. Huge imprint on my life. Just then and in retrospect. One of the things that's interesting about what you've been talking about is, like many people, like the lady that was on before, like Morgan and so many, um, the severe traumas at a young age, for years. There was a characteristic in some of these stories of how they learned to they disassociated, which another way to put that was they connected, in dimension, and they really honed their skills. You actually had this come in right before it happened, and you probably honed your skills as it happened. But one thing that Morgan says is, she says, the empaths. If you go back a few years ago, like when I first came into these communities, there was all these empath support groups, and there was all this type of supportive frequency, and hey, you're not alone, and it seems to have transformed now. It seems like she says, being an empath used to kind of be a weakness, and now it's a strength, it's a power. And I look at your story and the story of so many others like her, how this dimensional activity and interaction, communion and connection is now becoming a huge, powerful source of like a direct conduit, real time of, you know, much more than words, just almost like a tuning fork,
Well,
which is, yeah.
I would agree. And it's because you cannot have this amount of compassion without going through it yourself.
Yeah.
And I was actually guided um, about a year later ish. I was guided to play dead during being molested. I was only 4, and I was told, I heard an inner voice, um, and I was just told to play dead. And what that, I look back and I realized is that I could relate to that because I was, we were seeing dogs being, trained to do tricks and to play dead and to be still. And so what I learned was it was in the stillness that I was able to get out of body. I was literally able to let go. And then I heard the sound of a flute, which I'd never heard a flute before at that age. But I heard this sound. I heard this guidance that said, just play dead, meaning relax, be still. And then the flute kind of carried me into this beautiful, blissful place. And that kept happening each time. And so I got good at leaving the body during these episodes, and not really having a recollection of the actual episode, but
Yeah.
my body had the signs. My body
Yeah.
had my body had the telltale, things. But I guess unless you go through these things, it's it hones you, like you said. You can tune into those with others, like my clients now, who, I can tell what they're not saying. I understand what their soul is, or what they are very maybe suppressed and don't even know. Like,
Yeah.
it's the reading the water and being able to go, okay, and allowing my guidance to prompt the questions that they need to ask themselves or hear, so that they can come to their own, revelations and connectedness. And what I realize is that it's more of I'm just a little bit further down the path than these are, and I can create a safe place, and a heart-centered space where they can feel comfortable enough to even go there and
Yeah.
consider. But my biggest, I guess, personal mm, lesson would be, people will allow you, up until now, like up until the past couple of years, people wanted you to take care of them. They wanted
Yeah.
you to fix it. They didn't care what they had to do, just fix me. And so I kind of spent a lot of my years as a neurosomatic specialist and a neuromuscular specialist and breath work and all these, yoga and all that. On my own journey of trying to heal myself, I realized, okay, there are things we can do, and I can share what those are, and we'll figure out what works for you. And then, of course, the nutritional wellness and the purifying of the body and maintaining the integrity there. But then I realized, wow, what's lacking is self-accountability and
Yeah.
willing to dig deep and go in. And it's not easy and it's not fun, but that's our job. We
Yeah.
have to reconcile ourselves. And by doing so, then we become the conduit for others, because we can create space for them, real space.
Yeah.
And so that's why now I'm like, no. It's not about me. I'm not a healer. I've never really boasted myself as a healer. It's like, no, but I understand, and I can maybe help you kind of choose from these options, and let's find out what resonates best for you. But this is all about
Yeah.
self-reconciliation, self-healing. And
also bringing them into the awareness and the dynamics of like the quantum field, because some just haven't been exposed to that, but to expedite it.
Yeah.
And to liberate them in such a way that we give them tools, because we've been acquiring along the way.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I know, like in like what you said about, leaving, not even knowing what happened, the body knows. And I know, as Morgan relayed her story to me, so she would have been 3 to 13 when these things happen. Uh, she, I think, would have been early 30s when they started to come back. And she talked a lot about muscle memory, somatic memory, cellular memory, and uh, and her whole journey of like facing it, being accountable for the healing. But like the part of one of the, or I guess the primary process that she developed as a conduit, uh, was really, in my opinion, developed because of that disassociation, because of that level of communion, so that she literally got to a point. She tells a story one day where she said she was tired of, you know, curled up in the fetal position, feeling all the somatic memory coming back up, and the vomiting, the whole 9 yards, and just said to her higher self, which is her, like you said, with the at 4 years old, uh, can you please show me an easier way? And then that process started. And and maybe that's the biggest line of separation, is that is the human to the higher self, you know,
I would
in the
agree.
way that we've been conditioned, versus, and you would think it's kind of weird, but that's how the universe is anyway. It's paradoxical. To me, it is. So when you're at the point of what seems to be the most separation, you're actually at the point of most connection, as folks like you went through that type of thing, and learned to disassociate. Um, but did you have recall? Did it all come in at one time? How did you get?
I wouldn't even say I disassociated, because I was out of the body literally,
Yeah,
and um, when I say that, what I mean is I had no memory of it, and it wasn't because I didn't remember. It was because I wasn't there
yes, that's
in
what I
in
mean.
in a spirit, And so, but what it did create immediately was a sense when I was back in my body and I did feel the bruises or whatever. I had this immense, fierce needing to know, um, boundaries. And I had this sense of, okay, there there must be an immense need to feel safe,
Yeah,
and therefore I would kind of have this space where, I guess, if for lack of better words, I would seek out. I was on the opposite. I would go seek out, and I would confront. Even as a child, I was very, um,
wow,
very like direct, and asking why, what, in the way of like almost defiance.
yeah,
I would say no. I would use my words. I'm throat chakra wide open from the get go, and so I guess I learned that even if even if I don't remember, there's I don't necessarily need to know, but I need to be able to establish the healthy boundary, um,
that's
and
not okay. Yeah,
yeah, that it's not okay. I know that it's not okay, and then be able to speak it
yeah,
and exercise that. And by doing so, the tricks of the condition is, well, manipulation, right?
yeah,
Well, if you say something, if you tell, then I'll just go. I'll start doing this to your little sister. There's this manipulation going on.
yeah,
So at that point, I actually didn't realize it, but I almost um, conceded because I was trying to protect her.
yeah. Of course.
And again, we're very young here, but that gave me an insight to that there's a misunderstanding and a misplacement of activators. I realize now I'm an activator,
Yeah,
um, and that person or those incidences they were also, like you were even sharing earlier today, they were offended. They were by
Yeah.
an offender. This is a perpetuating
Yeah.
cycle.
Of course.
And to heal it, we have to go into it, and we have to participate in some way, shape, or form. And there's divine clemency at the end of the day, because
Yes.
this is all orchestrated to flesh out, reconcile, nourish, and bring back into oneness. How do we do that? It's a long journey. And there are many layers of how we can assist ourselves and assist others. Um, but it is by not shying away from it
Yeah.
and being able to go, hey, this is my boundary, and I will fight to the, you're going to have to knock me out. And I
Yeah.
have been at that place where you've had to knock me out before you're going to get anywhere, because, I won't
It's a
concede.
violation. Yeah.
Right. And then to be able to come back and look back and go, someone has to be every tick of the clock. Someone has to be in that to have the whole. And pretty soon it'll run its course, and it'll be expressed, and it'll be transformed. It's just the process.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be pretty.
Well, there's so many dynamics too. Like you're talking about the threats, the intimidation, manipulation. Then there's, I know Morgan talked about uh, in her younger years in that period, there was a lot of grooming,
Oh, yeah.
and so I can see, and I've not been in that situation, but I could see where if I was being groomed, that I wouldn't even think of boundaries, like it
Right.
would be the furthest thing from my mind. Now, if it was a situation where there was, severe physical damage and things like that, and where your body's really uncomfortable, even if you left your body, I could see where it might come in. But there's a lot of things at play here. But I mean, like I was talking to the lady before, I mean, you're so balanced. You remind me a lot of Morgan. uh, you're like in terms of like, did you have to go through a process to make peace with the labeled victimizers? The,
Yeah, things came to a head, and it wasn't that particular initial victimizer, but things came to a head at a point in my life. And, there's some wild stories, but I guess at the end of the day, you don't know how much you've been victimized, like you said.
yeah,
And when you come out, I actually went into the witness protection program for a couple of years because of certain dynamics.
mm,
And I, I would say that part of that required me to go through counseling, like actual,
yeah,
for an extended amount of time. And in that point, I was supported unconditionally, and realized by speaking it out loud and sharing it to another,
yeah,
and it was actually watching their reaction
yeah,
that gave me the indication of how deeply traumatized it was. It wasn't through, because you become numb to it to a certain.
yeah.
It wasn't through until that process came until I realized, oh,
How far out? How
how,
far out of the boundaries it was? Yeah,
yeah. And although you feel it, and it's your norm. It becomes your norm, whether you like it or not. It becomes your norm. And so that led me to the whole shift of making the conscious decision to be the change,
yeah,
and to do something to make
yeah,
some difference. And so my first initial step was to become a therapeutic body worker, because I knew that I needed to know that there was this healthy, safe venue for touch.
yeah,
And then that one domino led to the next, and here I am now, 25 years later, because I went down each and every road of okay, I learned that, I'm applying that, great, that helps. this much. Now I'm going to, learn about meditation and breath work and this, and so, we learn to create our own rainbow and to be that, and to start fostering the change, which is, I think, what ultimately heals our truths and our experience, is knowing that we are making a difference and we're allowing others that which we did not,
Yeah.
or not afforded.
Well, this is some deep stuff, man. I didn't know it was going to be this way today. And I knew it was going to be powerful with you, but I didn't know it was going to be but this seems to be coming up now. In
Yeah.
fact, after the last show, I was talking to Morgan, and I said, did you see that last show? And, and then some other things popped up, and they're all the same thing. We can look at it and call it pedophilia, child molestation, the trafficking issue. I mean, but it's a big blanket over it. I'm looking at it, and it's got all these things in it, and all these the seemingly indirect things that are connected to it. It's very important, and I think, I told the lady on the last show, the sister, that I remember in 2017 that Me Too movement came out, and how much that, I mean, impacted the world. And I got to believe that this is starting to happen now. And I think, which I hadn't really seen, you've seen people talk about it, but they haven't talked about it in depth, not in a public way. And I know we're going to be blessed with Al McManus on Sunday, and that's why he's coming on. He said, "I want to tell my story," and I don't know. I just think this is a powerful sign, like you being on today, the sister before this show being on. It's just in the air. It's like everything has to come up, and I don't know of anything that would be more, uh, well, really, that would more increase our potential for an expansion than this issue, because it's tied to our innocence and tied to our sacred sexual energy.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. I'm glad you mentioned that. I don't, one, it's in the field. It's part of our nature as masculine and feminine and embodiers, right? But it's also under the rug. And there's so much deviancy that's been happening on so many levels.
Yes.
Whether it's in a private home or it's in the government or whatever, that all of the above, right? It's that how can we, and we're in this 2020, we're in this year of divine feminine and masculine recalibration and reconnection, and we're being given the opportunity. So the field is ripe, but what we've got to really be able to do is allow ourselves the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
That's right.
We cannot heal without that. So we have to go. It's not a surprise to me that the what is coming into the field is in the field, because it's kind of like the last stitches. So we need to go in and go, this has been an issue for eternity when it comes to.
That's right. That's right. And I just want to say this, because I don't know why I'm supposed to. You know how that works, but so when I met Morgan and we started interacting, and of course I heard her story, and I had my own stories. Nothing in my conscious memory of any type of sexual violation when I was a child. But as we started to talk about these things, and particularly in late 2017 when the Me Too thing came out, certain things would come to the surface, to include dimensional memory recall of many, many lives as a child, being, and whether that was me tapping into the conscious collective or that was my own past life incarnations doesn't even matter, because it's all one and the same. But when you start to have the, smells and taste and other physical sensations, that doesn't just come out of nowhere. I mean, this is a long, long, long programming or history or whatever you want to call it. and everybody's a part of it. Everybody's got it in them. And yeah, to talk about this stuff is revolutionary. It really is, because because as I often say, Morgan says a copy is a copy. But if you look at the households, for those who have gone through this experience, I've talked to many people on this subject, and very rarely did somebody say, "Oh, I was 11 years old and I came out and told my family," and they all went, "Oh my God, we're gonna support this. We're gonna help you. We're going to." Most of the time, in the best case scenario, there might be, because most of them were women that I've talked to, there might be a mother or an aunt or somebody that would say, "Okay, we're gonna do what we can, but we can only do what we can." But for the most part, it's that person against the family. Like, don't talk about it, and if you talk about it, you're actually the bad guy now. Like, and that's, if you think about that, and you put that into in respect to the collective, just being a mirror of these family households. That's exactly what we've done. It's exactly what we've done. And it's, nothing gets out alive in this transition we call ascension. It's all got to come out.
Yeah. It is, I think, on a scale of humanity, I think it is the number one proverbial elephant in the room.
Absolutely, it is.
Our sexuality and
Absolutely.
Because there's been so much shame,
Yeah.
projections, and cultural dynamics that that goes into this. So it has to be like part of our healing, and it is it doesn't matter where you are on the planet, it doesn't matter what color skin you are, what background you are, this is in your culture somewhere.
Absolutely, it is. It's in your DNA.
And so, I mean, the exceptions I would tend to believe that the exceptions, if there were, would be in those indigenous tribes where their cultures are created in such a vast, different level. And,
well, they were never tainted. They were never exposed.
Right. And when they just live pure to the land, they live pure to nature.
Yeah.
So, it's not in their paradigm.
No.
I would say that would be the exception, because there isn't a ruler over. This isn't a dominion mentality. No. What you get with the rest of the humanity is this dominion mentality, where there it's community.
That's right. Yeah.
It's a symbiosis. So it would be unthinkable.
Well, then, yeah, an occurrence like that would be an aberration that would be dealt with immediately from a higher perspective, as the misalignment that it is, versus there being a expansive aberration that is not an aberration. It's far more. I mean, it's touched every one of us, and that's the cold hard truth. I would not be surprised if we see more and more people come out about it, and I would not be surprised if we see more and more men come out about it, because I think it's very rampant with men, a lot more than any statistics I've seen. And if you just look at the level of sexual neurosis that men have, and I don't care how big and bad and alpha they are. I've been in locker rooms all my life, and men are neurotic about performance, about their manhood, about their libido, about it's just totally distorted. And this is the new wisdom coming in, and I'm with you. If we're scraping the bottom of the barrel, then we're also making room for the cream of the crop, which is, to your point, and saying that this is the primary. Yeah, because the sexual energy really is what we've missed out on more than anything. If you want to take it or drill it down beyond just our divinity, the sexual energy is that creative energy. And of course, it's been distorted and turned upside down. And then if you drill down a little deeper, where would it hurt the most? Where would it affect us the most? As an adult male, as an adult female, or as a child? And so, on one hand, it's like you said, it's not pretty, it's not easy to face it. But on the other hand, as we've learned in 2020, when we go through these many MINI, many MANY, dark nights of the soul, um, we can guarantee, we know that on the other side of it, there's a huge expansion. So
Absolutely.
this is a tremendous gift. I had no idea we were going to be talking about this, but
Well, and I would say that the beauty of the sacred masculine, like yourself, like my partner, showing up, that have done their work, that are doing their work, and that have made it their mission to be the demonstrative difference, it allows more space for others to come forth. You create that comfort and that platform for others to feel, and that is what is going to, also revolutionize this, is that there is more support than ever before,
yeah,
and there are more masculine, sacred masculines that are emerging, and it's like the divine feminine had to put her foot down and
yeah,
create healthy boundaries, and the divine masculine had to realize the value in that, and we had to do this in ourselves, and balance that out before we could. For the divine feminine to put our foot down is bringing our divine masculine into balance
yes,
and utilizing that sternness and that, hey,
yeah,
you know, but then that allows, the healthy boundaries is what allows everyone else to come an inch a little bit forward and a little bit forward. And that's what we're seeing this second wave of sacred masculines that are coming in and that are willing to be seen,
yeah,
like the gentleman coming up this weekend, putting their stories out there, and just allowing the truth, the gnarly truth, to be permeated, because there will be those that will identify with it and realize I can create healthy boundaries too,
yeah,
which means I can come closer into my source, into my totality. I can claim my divinity. And now once we get to that stage, we can actually be the lighthouses for others, because there is nothing more important than our integrity.
yeah,
And our integrity is the umbilical cord to our connection,
yeah,
and knowing that we're never separate, and that I will walk the walk and be the demonstration in every way, shape, and form I am led and inspired to be, so that everyone can create their own version, which is why it's what I call the light body lifestyle with my business, is because it's like, don't do what I do what works for you.
yeah,
Find what works for you and create your version from your path. And it's like that snowflake. Everyone's going to have their unique effect and
yeah,
ripple on the collective. And really, it then becomes the collective becomes more powerful, because we are now more unified in recognizing and being comfortable with it, and being being uncomfortable enough to do something different so that we can become comfortable with it.
I
But
thought
I
you
will.
were shy. I thought you were camera shy. Did you tell me that?
Oh,
Or,
oh, so terribly. It's easy when it's just you and me, because I feel like it's just you and
yeah,
me.
yeah. No, but
Um,
yeah, I noticed that when you first started out, I could, because Morgan's the same way, but I noticed you what she does. She'll start out the first few minutes and she's a little bit, and then all of a sudden, boom. Because this has been a powerful hour. I'd like
thank
we should. God, I can't believe an hour went by. If I didn't have something to do, I'd say, try to coerce you and to keep going. Maybe we could do something again in a few days and pick up on this conversation. How do you feel about that? I should ask you in private.
Oh, I love that, and I really would like that, simply because there are so many layers that are beyond this particular topic
Yeah.
that I've been first person, which is what I think the goodie basket is. It's the treasure chest of once you take on this self-awareness and this self-nurturing and this self-care, the benefits are so amazing. And what is revealed, the dimensionality that's revealed, the unshakable anchoring into the wisdom of source, all of the things that come after that, the union, and astral projecting and doing
Yeah.
so many of these things, that I think is
Yeah,
the
we need to talk about that.
the dragons and all those
No,
things.
we need to talk about that because I can tell already that, yeah.
Yeah, it's all
Let me just say to Michael, because I don't want to forget. He said he'd like to chat about this and his experience on this subject, and that's a yes. So I think you already had written to Leilani at soulogynetwork@gmail.com. So Michael, just send that over, and we'll get you on the schedule as quick as we can. Thank you. Sorry.
Oh, we're good.
You want to hang on for a second? Let's sign off and can we talk for a second?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. And this is going to be it for today because I've got a lot of work to do tonight, and we'll see y'all tomorrow. I think we got, I want to say we have 4 shows tomorrow. Thank you, Leilani. And for anybody who wants to step forward and talk about this subject matter on a personal level, this is a supportive environment to do it. We have a lot more in this vortex than the physical bodies that we see and hear. But I would encourage anyone and everyone to that has the the guidance to do it. Please write Leilani at soulogynetwork@gmail.com, and we want to really push this for all of our brothers and sisters. So thank you, Michael, and thank you, Carlotta. Let's just stick around for a minute. We're going to sign off, and we'll see y'all tomorrow. And thank you for coming in. Oh, I almost did the wrong thing.